I'm Don Nystrom, and today's program will be on county government, Wood County government. It's been a while since we've had discussions with anybody in county government other than the sheriff, who comes up here on a monthly basis, but I thought maybe we should go to the top person who runs the county right now, and that's Doug Machon, who is the county board supervisor that's in charge of the county. Your official title is what, Doug?
I am actually chairman of the Wood County Board of Supervisors and / administrative coordinator for Wood County.
Right. Okay. Now tell me about yourself. I mean, how long you been involved with the government? Where do you live?
Okay.
You're also a regular supervisor?
Yes, I am.
Okay.
For District 12.
Okay.
District 12 is my normal district. I still operate as a supervisor for District 12. That's part of my duties. I still maintain regular contact with my constituents within my district for any issues they have, beyond the county board chair responsibilities. But I was elected my first time in 2012. This is my fourth term. I'm about halfway through my fourth term. And as you know, in April I was elected as the county board chair by the county board. I've lived in Wisconsin Rapids most of my life. There was a time when I was out of Rapids for a short time when I was a child growing up. But basically grew up in Rapids, went to some parochial grade school, graduated from Lincoln High School, worked in paper like most of us do in Wisconsin Rapids. A lot of people worked, and I like to say I worked in every paper mill there was in Wisconsin Rapids in the area through the course of my career. I'm retired from that now. Married to my wife Jen, have 3 kids of my own, have 2 stepdaughters, and enjoy the area. Like to go up, have a place up in the UP, as I mentioned to you earlier. We get away when we can, but politics and county government take up a great deal of my time. I like what I do. I find it exciting, and it's nice to know that some days you feel like you make a change, make a difference. So.
Full disclosure, I grew up also in the Rapids. In fact, earlier we were talking, we were pretty much in the same neighborhoods, and we were kind of reminiscing. I also was on the county board for 1 term, and then I decided that owning a cabin up north and going fishing was actually more fun. So I did not seek re-election, although I've been in politics as an alderman here for 10 years. So we have a somewhat common background and interest, and I think that this discussion will be of interest to our viewers because we really don't get a lot of information from county government up here. The newspaper has covered less and less county activities. Unless there's a controversy, we don't really know much about what's going on. So this is going to be mostly an update, folks, and bring us up to speed. And then in the future, we're going to ask other county department heads to come up in Parks and Rec. And we're going to have someone up here, hopefully from social services and a few other department heads, just to let the folks up in the northern part of the county know what's going on in the southern part of the county, because we pay our share of taxes.
Absolutely.
I think Marshfield pays about 1/3 of the county budget.
Great idea. Yep.
Okay, let's get going then. Why did you run against, or were you asked to run against Lance Plimo, who had been on for the county board as the chairman, I should say, for X number of years? I think probably 6, 8 years.
Good. Actually, Lance was chairman for 12 years. Longest running chair in Wood County history. And actually, that's a good question. I haven't talked about that since for about a year because it was fresh news back then. But it was not a dispute. There was not any animosity between Lance and I. I think I had a different point of view, maybe a slightly different perspective on things, but I think that most people, as they look back now on the last year, realize that actually Lance and I were on the same page on a lot of issues. There may be some slight differences on how we approach issues, but I think on basic things that we're a lot alike in a lot of areas. Number one is we both have the best interests of the county at heart. And I'm a fiscal guy, basically. I'm really a fiscal guy at heart, so I don't like to see money wasted, especially when it's taxpayers. So I take that part of it very seriously, and I know Lance always did too. And so that's one of the areas where we are on agreement, almost lockstep. There are other issues that maybe I approach different. I think on parks, I think we're a lot alike. I really like the things that the county offers for our constituents as far as recreational facilities, economic development. That may be something where we're slightly different, but I think philosophically we're probably at the base a lot alike. We have to drive a tax base. You do that through
Right, and
through economy.
Mention that a little bit later on.
And so it was a more matter of perspective. Lance, I have to say, and I always give him a shout out whenever I can, because the man has been so gracious.
Well,
he's a very
12
gracious,
years,
professional guy. He's been a great help to me. There are times on issues that, and he understands the learning curve in this job. And there are times when I go to him for advice, and he's the only guy that I would go to advice.
Yeah, well, I've always got along with him too.
Yeah, great guy.
Now, the question is that you're a part-time administrator for the county. You're the designated person that has to sign documents, legal documents, and so forth.
Some, yes.
That means you have to spend a lot of time down at the county offices.
Oh, yeah, I spend a great
Every
deal of time
day.
in the courthouse. Yeah, I'm in the courthouse almost every day. I like to probably, if I can, I usually ditch on Fridays. I like to, if I can get a long weekend and get started up north on a Friday, I will. However, it depends on the day. If there's something that's pressing that needs to be done on a Friday, then we do it. But generally, I try not to book Fridays. But other than Fridays, I'm probably in the courthouse every day, depending on if I have a meeting in Marshfield, for instance, or if I have to travel to Wausau for the ADRC or maybe Madison.
Sure.
I may not be in the office, but I try to generally keep regular office hours.
You get paid the standard county supervisor salary, which as I recall back when I was on it, was $3,000 to $4,000 a year, depending on how many meetings you went to.
That's
but
right,
you
Barbara.
get a supplement to that.
Yep, I do. The county board chair gets a salary of $20,000 a year.
Okay.
And so that covers probably, the administrative coordinator part of the deal, and my duties as county board chair. Like tonight, I'm going to, I have to chair, there's certain commissions that I found out I chaired just by the fact that I'm the county board chairman.
Right.
I wasn't elected to them, but because of that position, I chair other counties. I have to go to Mid-State tonight for a selection committee for the Mid-State Board of Directors. Those things. But the county board supervisor's salary is $150 a month, a pay.
Period.
And then it's a per diem after that. So depending on how many meetings you attend, it's $50 per meeting, and of course mileage.
Yeah.
And so I still accrue those payments as my District 12 representative. But it's like you said, that's probably a $3,000.
Well, the county government is big business.
It is. It is.
I mean, you have a huge budget.
114 mil last year.
Okay,
So
that's a lot of money.
you're darn right.
So the question is, why doesn't the county do as most other counties and have a full-time administrator / manager, call it what you will? There's like 4 different types of leadership that the state statutes permit.
Right.
And we are in the minority, having an elected supervisor. And it bothers me for years. I even lobbied. We've had discussions when I was on the board that we really ought to bite the bullet and do what the others are doing because it's complicated. And for continuity purposes, I mean, you've got a base of knowledge now. If you don't want the job, next time somebody else is going to have to learn, and it's basically a 2-year by 2-year job. So that's my opinion. What's yours?
I couldn't agree with you more.
Oh, really?
I'm glad you brought it
Good.
up. I couldn't agree with you more. I think the general consensus is, well, the logical step, there are 3 statutory options we have as a county.
Right.
We can do the administrative / coordinator, which we said we are a minority. I believe there's only probably 4 counties left out of 72 that still operate under that paradigm. It can be effective. It can be effective if you have a guy like Lance Plimmel, who is a long-standing
Knowledgeable
chairman.
person.
Yeah, exactly. And but if you're going to have change at the top, then it probably isn't quite as effective. Secondly, you can have a county administrator, which is kind of an in-between, and then thirdly, you can have a county executive, which that's a very powerful position.
And those are the big county,
Yeah.
Milwaukee,
They
Waukesha,
have
et cetera.
veto powers.
But even within that, there's a subgroup. You can have an elected county administrator or an appointed one. So there's options within each option, actually. But
Exactly.
It just seems silly with a budget that size
I couldn't agree with
to
you more.
rely and
In fact, we're going to take up that topic in May. We have a man from the WCA. You may be familiar with John Holcomer. Is coming. He is a representative of WCA, and he's going to talk to the county board on specific statutory things that the county
Good.
can do as far as administration.
good.
And it is my hope that that discussion will lend itself to a broader discussion within the county board on the merits of some type of
Yeah.
professional administrator.
Right. Well, we went through that issue here in the city of Marshfield. We have a mayor whose salary is somewhat similar to yours, but he's got a full-time position, and the theory was that any issue that comes up that people are concerned about, they'll throw the mayor out and get another one who's more aligned to what they're thinking. It became so political, but you really need to have a professional. And we've been fortunate here the last several mayors. We've been really good, and the current one is certainly in that category.
I met with the Mayor McManus last Friday, actually.
Good.
But you're absolutely right. And you said it best, Don. The word you used was consistency.
Right.
And that's exactly what you get. You get consistency in administrative function, and that's important in this day and age. You said it yourself again, with the budget the size of the counties. Holy cow.
Yeah.
That's not child's play.
Well, you wouldn't run any business. I mean, we have some businesses here with budgets probably similar.
Yep.
And they certainly don't run it with somebody that comes in and works maybe on Tuesday, maybe on Thursday, and I'm going on vacation for a month.
It can be done. I'm not saying it can't be done. It can be done. Is it the best way to do it? I don't necessarily.
No, it's been
agree
working, but the argument's always been, oh, it costs too much. But my theory is that it costs more not to have
the good
continuity.
administrator probably pays for himself.
Yeah.
Or
Well,
goes
okay,
a
we're
long
on the
way.
same page. No argument there.
Okay.
All right.
Why are we looking for one?
I'm going to find something on here because we'll find something we can disagree with. But let's get on to updates. Since I was on the county board and since my mom passed away, I haven't been down the Rapids that much. But you do have another building housing county offices, and tell me about that.
River Block building.
Yeah, right on the river.
Yeah, absolutely. Beautiful building, nice building. We actually entered into a lease agreement with the Mead Witter Foundation, who had purchased that building from, I believe it was when Verso or New Page. I think they bought it from New Page when the New Page group was running the mill. The Mead Witter bought that building back. And they have leased that building to us on a 30-year lease for $2 million. Now, we knew that we had space concerns within the county. We were outgrowing our facilities at a rapid rate. We had even invested some serious money into a space needs study, where we had a professional group come in from outside and do a comprehensive look at all of our space needs and venues within the county, and what was needed, what they thought would be required, and then gave recommendations. And I think that they came back with, and that included another topic which we'll probably get to, which was about looked ahead at jail space.
Yeah.
But they came back to the committee. It was an ad hoc committee that Chairman Plimmel had put together at the time, Space Needs Ad Hoc, and they had brought back at the end of that study, I believe, 3, possibly 4. It's been a while, but at least 3, possibly 4 options. And I believe, if I recall correctly, the cheapest option for the county at that time was about $53 million to bring us up to snuff.
Ooh, wow.
So when we had the option from the Mead Witter to go into a lease on that building for 30 years at $2 million, that was basically a no-brainer. I mean, that was a cheap out for us as far as acquiring the space that we needed. It freed up some buildings that in fact, one of them's for sale now.
Wasn't the health department in kind of a rundown building on the other side of the?
That was previous, but
On First
at the
Street.
time, the health department was located in the top floor of the hospital
Oh,
at about around $100,000 a year lease.
wow.
So there were some fiscal savings as well to that move, but it really gave us a great option at $2 million. Now, when we had to do some renovation in that building to make it
sure.
suitable for us. So by the time we were done, we probably stuck including the price of the lease, we probably invested around $4 million completely in. Still, absolutely.
Well, and it's also not that far from
No.
the courthouse.
Logistically, it's perfect.
So, except in extreme weather, people can just walk across, and exercise is good.
Parking was our biggest problem. Parking was our biggest problem with that, but it's pretty much
Well,
been addressed.
the downtown of the Rapids must have parking available, because there's not much left in buildings. Isn't that one where the Wisconsin Theater was? Isn't that building down? And
Yep, that whole block is down.
yeah. So what's there now?
Oh no, I take that back. That whole block is not down. The east side of the block is. There's a few buildings left. The old labor temple, the labor hall is still there, and I think the square bar, and I think the Bowers carpeting.
Okay, so on the opposite side.
Yeah, on the opposite.
Anyway, that's
Yep.
kind of off the issue. And that's Rapids, and they have a serious problem with their downtown.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I mean, there was the east side, west side, and now there's neither side. It's
Yeah.
all 8th Street, which is that's their issue, not the county's issue.
Right.
All right. Real quickly, just update us on what's going on at Norwood. What's in there now, and what does the future look? Not in detail, because we're going to get someone up here who can give us more information.
And that's exactly right, because there's a number of different dynamics going on there now. There's a sheriff's department has a satellite office there. The psychiatry part of Norwood, the hospital, is still the same. There's some changes on the units that are in the hospital. There's an expansion going on in one of them. Jordan Bruce is the administrator there, and he's the guy that could really fill you in. It's a changing dynamic there. We've shifted the TBI. The traumatic brain injury unit has now left Norwood, and it's gone to Edgewater.
Now, the TBI, I was on the board of Norwood after I left the county board, but the state was desperate to find housing for traumatically brain injured individuals, and they offered to pay real well, contrary to a lot of other services that they need. And the idea was to boost the revenue at Norwood. So did we take that revenue stream and move it to Edgewater to help them out, and then to fill that space with the sheriff? Or
No, I think, well, to put it very quickly, like you said, the TBI move to Edgewater was to free up some additional space for another program at Norwood. Fiscally, it makes better sense to have the TBI in Edgewater because of the payment process through Medicare. The facilities are different in what they accept for payment plans. So the TBI was moved to Edgewater. It will help probably the bottom line at Edgewater. When we get it up and running fully, the facilities are better at Edgewater. They're better suited for that type of client. It's going to be a much more welcoming environment for those people that want to, because things are happening at Edgewater. Both facilities are changing. That whole system changes.
We'll get an update on
but
that.
Jordan would be much better able to give you the details on that.
Yeah. So other than are the social services people, the social workers, are they working out of there? Or are they still down here?
They're actually working here, I think.
In the what we call the old city hall.
Yeah.
But we aren't sure what's going to happen to this building. So do they have a contingency plan to?
The plan is that we are going to move some of those people onto the second floor here, here with in this building. The time frame on that. I don't have the particulars on. Now, our Human Services Director, Brandon Bruwink, would be able to much better fill you in on that. He'll be a great guy to have on your show because he covers a lot of areas. And as you well know, Don, Human Services is our biggest part of the budget.
Right, and it's probably getting to be bigger and bigger with the problems we're having with society today and the drugs and so forth. So, yeah, that could be a long program we'll try to bring.
It will.
Yeah, but I mean, between county facilities up here, the Norwood, and down in Edgewater, and then plus all the social programs, the AODAs and so forth, which brings me to the other topic. At one time when I was on the board, we had a facility on Airport Avenue, which was a transition house for people who were coming out of an addiction. And that, I think, was discontinued.
Yeah, that was about 2 years ago.
And those folks now, it was kind of like a halfway house, right?
I don't know how you would actually characterize it accurately. Yeah, you probably could say that. I think that the drug courts used it a lot. They mandated some of the people from drug courts go there. We didn't feel it was effective. It wasn't a mandated program. Okay. It wasn't a mandated program, so we were putting a lot of money into that in an unmandated program, and we didn't feel that it was effective either fiscally or philosophically. It wasn't doing the things that we wanted it to do.
So it didn't move. It just was discontinued.
Yeah, and we've since sold that property. Actually, we sold that property last November.
That was a pretty good size.
Yeah, it was. I think it was I believe it was a 5-bedroom home, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
I remember when it was built. I grew up in that neighborhood.
Okay. Economic development. You mentioned that earlier in your statement that you and Lance were both interested in developing more tax base. Let's put it that way. How is the county involved now? What are you doing to help?
One of my favorite topics.
Okay.
One of my favorite topics. One of my 2 favorite topics. I have 2 favorite topics. That's one of them. We're working very, very hard on economic development right now. We're looking at changing the way the county addresses economic development. And so that was a start basically from the beginning. I mean, we're basically starting over. The first question was, does the county belong in the economic development game? I happen to believe that they probably do. To what extent, I don't know. So then, but Chairman Curry at SEED, the SEED committee, and Chairman Curry are engaged in that discussion now on how they're going to take another look at economic development. My main thoughts to them, to Chairman Curry, was that whatever we do, we have to do it from a county perspective. You know, we're not going to do a program, any kind of serious economic development, and it's going to be centered in Wisconsin Rapids or centered in Pittsville or centered in Grand Rapids or centered in Marshfield. It's going to be something that we can do from a county perspective. And I think there are a number of issues that have county-wide reach that, does the county need to be involved in them? Yeah, I think so.
Well, it seems like it's kind of, it's confusing to me because, each city, 2 main cities, us in the Rapids, have our economic development people involved. Then there's kind of a central Wisconsin economic development thing, which is...
Are you talking about REGI?
I don't know.
Regional Economic Growth Initiative? Probably, yeah, it sounds like that, yeah.
Okay. Well, I know that there's different groups involved, and I don't know if they coordinate with each other or not. But also, the chambers of commerce want to, we certainly have a need here, and I know Rapids does too. We have 8 vacant stores, and could we fill them with something else? And it seems to be a trend. We need to keep our tax base up.
Absolutely.
I think that the county was giving some money to the communities for that. Do you recall that?
Yeah, the dynamic.
Cash.
Yeah, the dynamic involved now with our economic development, I can tell you, last year was around $151,000 or $153,000, and basically we just budgeted that money and wrote checks to all the different organizations, like you said.
Okay.
So the problem for us is, number one, what do we expect for that money? What are we getting for that money? And are these all these multitude of organizations, are they doing exactly what you said? Are they working together for the county?
Yeah.
So that's one of the things we have to look at.
Yeah,
and we're finding out. I think there's some really good ideas out there. I attended a seed meeting the other day, and it was it's a big enough issue that the seed committee has broken into 2 meetings per month now. One is on
what is seed? I don't know.
seed. Okay. Conservation, education, and economic development.
Okay.
So they cover all those spectrums. So with the water issues that we've had in the county for the last probably 7 years, that was taking up a lot of the seed committee's meeting time. So we didn't feel that the economic development piece that they were
getting its attention.
Exactly.
But this is a county committee and no lay people on it.
Right. It's there's a farmer, one farmer representative on for the conservation part of it.
Oh, sure.
So they decided, and rightfully so, that they were going to have a meeting dedicated to economic development, and they are talking about some good issues. They're getting some input from the people that we've done business with, and I think we may end up with a different dynamic, but I think it'll be good for the county, and I think one of the issues, and I'm not going to advocate for anything here because it's not my job, and the committee's going to do their work. But one of the things that really got me thinking about it was, no matter who I talked to, whether it was the chamber in Marshfield, whether it was the chamber in Wisconsin Rapids, whether it was Reggie, no matter who I talked to on the economic development piece, one of the issues that always kept coming up was housing.
Yes.
Economic development, I think people need to realize that if you're going to drive economic development, if you want to see change, it's not going to be somebody coming in and building a factory and then bam, everything's going to be good. The new paradigm for economic development is to attract millennials. Wood County is losing millennials like crazy. We're losing population.
We need to keep people.
We can't get our kids to stay here.
Right.
And so, how do you change that? What the new process seems to be that you build a community where they want to live. They'll worry about their jobs. They're not going to chase a job anywhere. You talk to any millennial, they'll tell you, I'm not chasing a job anywhere. Yeah. I'm going to decide where I want to live, then I'll worry about my job, or I'll bring my job with me.
We need affordable housing up here.
And that's it.
Probably down there.
That's the thing.
The growth in the southern part of the county is in Grand Rapids.
Absolutely.
Not in the city.
They're building houses
and
like crazy.
And the same thing is here. It's in the town of McMillan, which is in Marathon County and in Hewitt.
Yep.
So
Plover, and we're contending with Plover on the south end as well.
And we got to look at it globally. We have 2 population centers, but a development anywhere in the county, whether it's in the middle, the east side, or the west side, or whatever, it doesn't matter because people will live, and commuting is not a big deal in this county. Yeah. I mean, there are people working at the hospital here that live in Rapids, and there are people here that work, in Pittsfield or south.
Pittsfield's another area that's growing as well.
It's growing.
And the thing is, what you have to remember is that development in any part of the county is the county. That's what's the county tax base is the county. Property taxes are anywhere, whether it's Pittsfield, whether it's Rapids, whether
we
it's
need to, there always was discussion up here about, the county is focused solely on Southwood County. But we can't look at it that way because we absolutely need to make the area attractive. And it doesn't matter if they live in Millador, Sherry's still there.
Oh, yeah. I just drove through it the other day.
I say that jokingly because that's where my roots are.
Oh, really?
The Sherryland Ballroom, as I recall. Off the topic.
Yeah.
But, we need to develop an attractive county to keep the young people interested.
Absolutely.
And one of the things that I'd like to do here in a future program is to have somebody from the Parks Department up here. I mean, there's some natural resources.
We're blessed.
In the southern end of the county. We got Nakusa in the river where when I was younger, fished a lot. Lake Wazicha, where I spent summers out there. We got 2 sand beaches. We got Nepco Lake. We have shelters. We got a trail system down there, which is second to none. And then you're developing something at Powers Bluff. Briefly?
Very excited about that.
Okay, tell me.
And that would really affect the Marshfield area. But we're looking at developing Powers Bluff as a biking center for single and double track bikes. Very popular events these days. Single track off-road series. But we're looking at probably rebranding Powers Bluff to some extent. Totally. I mean, we're still, the winter activities will still be there, probably
The
be
tubing and
and probably be enhanced as well. But the fact is, there would be some new buildings there, and it would be remarketed as a biking area, and maybe some camping facilities. The plan is pretty grand, and I would let Parks Director Schooley come on your show and discuss that.
Yeah, and bring some video or something or pictures, and we can show the people here. I talked to people in town, and I said, "Have you ever been down to Lake Wazicha?" No. Well, the people that have camped there, there's an excellent campground.
They come from a long ways to camp there.
Yes. But in terms of going down and just to take the kids swimming where they can walk on a sand beach and get sand between their toes.
Yep.
I mean, Richfield is, I'm sorry, but that's not much of a, I mean, it's a county park and people do use it. But Dexter Lake, that's a dangerous place if you got a boat because they left the stumps in when they built the lake.
It does have a nice campground though. And camping actually is a very big revenue generator for the county. Oh, absolutely, yeah. And when you talk about Wazicha and Southwood County Park, my wife and I do a lot of biking ourselves, and so we ride from Rapids out and ride that bike path around Lake Wazicha, which is fantastic.
Yeah.
One of the best ideas there ever was.
Right.
And so I like to ride through the campground. And so I'll stop and talk to people, and it's amazing how far people come to camp in that campground.
Well, I'd like to see more of our northern residents, northern county residents, use those facilities. Maybe we should charter some buses and take them down on a tour so they can see what's there.
Wazicha is beautiful.
I mean, it is.
Yeah.
You're really fortunate in that part of the county to have the natural resources. We have up here a growing and very popular zoo. And it's being expanded over and over. It would be, I think, a good thing for the county to invest some money in our public zoo up here because it is an attraction. We're bringing tourists in. We're bringing buses to see the Kodiak, and certainly in the winter, in November, December period, we have the Rotary Winter Wonderland.
Go through it every year.
We're expanding, putting in an additional exhibit for cougars.
Oh, really?
And it's, but money is tight too. And I think, if we're going to continue to support, and I hope we do, the park system in the southern part of the county, it would be something that you and our mayor or our administrator could talk about. What can the county do to give us a hand to make it even better and bring, and again, it's a quality of life. It doesn't pay to have a small zoo in the Rapids and then a large zoo up here, which is expanding, because it's not that, we're not that far apart. I mean, and the same thing is with the shelter houses and so forth. We could, county people from Marshfield could rent a shelter house.
It's a beautiful building they have at the Marshfield Zoo at Wildwood. I think the Wildwood Station, is that what they call the building?
Right.
I'm chairman of the ADRC of Central Wisconsin, and they have their annual meeting for all their
we have
people
great
there.
facilities, but it's funded solely by private donations and city tax dollars. And given the fact that the county is, and rightfully so, funding the Southwood County park system, I think it would be a fine thing. I bet the city's probably never even brought it up because, oh well, they wouldn't give us any money. But they probably haven't asked. The question is, how long can we keep talking without a drink of water? So we're going to take a break, and we'll be right back. And we're with Doug Machon, who is the county board chairperson and has a lot of information yet to share with you about what's going on in our county government. So stay tuned. We'll be right back. Hi, we're back with Doug Machon, who is the county board chairperson and runs the county, we think, as much as anybody can. And we're going to move on to some other issues. So thank you for coming back. I think you'll find the rest of the program interesting.
Good.
Because we're going to talk about some things that we don't normally talk about.
Okay.
Prisoners. Have you got enough room for prisoners? We got too
Depends
many.
on what day it is.
We got a lot of criminal activity with the drugs and stuff. Do you need a bigger jail, more jail?
Well,
what's the
we need to find a way to address jail overload. That's for sure. How we do that? That's another discussion. You have a couple options. Right now, we house prisoners out of Wood County in Wapaka County and Adams County. Do we build a new jail? If you build a new jail, I think going back to the Space Needs Ad Hoc Committee recommendations from those analysts were if you do incorporate a new jail, first of all, where do you put it? Secondly, you're probably, to build a modern jail, at this time, you're probably looking at $75 million.
Oh, really?
So you're looking at bonding, borrowing money to do something like that. So
wow.
So then and again, not advocating one way or the other, but for $75 million, I can house prisoners outside the county for a long time.
Question,
Yep.
because you obviously know the other county administrators, coordinators, or whatever. Does Portage County have an issue too?
I'm not sure.
They did it in the past, but way back.
I think there's some serious talk in Portage about building a new jail.
Well,
right
the
now.
question is, why don't we coordinate and have a multiple county Portage/Wood County jail, which would be centrally located someplace on the border between the two, where it's convenient for the families to visit their incarcerated relatives and friends and so forth. If it's just like an airport. You don't really need an airports in every city over 10,000 people. It's nice, but one airport in Pittsfield probably at the time would have satisfied the needs. We have the regional airport in Mosinee. Why don't we have a regional jail?
Sounds like a reasonable idea to me. I don't know. I would certainly be willing to listen to any ideas in that reference.
Well, the issues come up, and it hasn't really been resolved other than renting spaces, and that's difficult for the families. I mean, if you, it's difficult for transportation to get the prisoners back and forth. I don't know if they use uniform officers or if they use retired deputies.
Depends on the county. It depends on the county. There's a thought process out there that if you do go the route of building a jail, it seems that the counties that have been successful at doing that, and I don't know how you want to term or characterize successful, but build big jails, build double-decker big facilities, and then take on the added I'll say burden of housing state inmates, because that's where you generate revenue. You become a revenue generator. In fact, I have a son that's a drug investigator, and he's worked for a number of organizations after he came out of the academy, and he was a sheriff's deputy in Juneau County. Well, their jailers are deputized over there, and so you start out in the jail as a deputy, and when a road opening opens up, you get in a car and begin patrolling, and that's what they did. They have a big double-decker jail. In fact, I think they were doing it last time I was over there. They were doing addition, so you can generate revenue. But the thing is that you have to consider, and I don't advocate one way or the other on any issue, but that needs to be thought out and gone through the process. But the fact is, once you build a jail, you have to staff it, and staffing is the biggest increase in our expenses every year at the county.
Yeah.
It's the cost, the benefits and wages of our employees.
Right. Back, again, I keep referring to back when I was on the board, which is a long time ago, but this issue did come up then, and it's still an issue. It hasn't been resolved in the 10 or 20 years that I know of. And the issue was, well, we can't build a regional jail because would they be Portage County employees, or would they be Wood County employees? Would we have some of each, and who would be? I mean, there are two different unions involved, but those were things that could have been resolved.
Yeah, I don't know.
It would seem that wouldn't be a major impediment to building a larger regional jail but here
No, it's a,
I'm
it's a,
advocating when I should be asking questions.
well, no, that's okay, that's fine. You have a viewpoint, and you have
Sure.
a right to have a viewpoint, and it's a topic that we are going to have to discuss. We can't keep kicking that can down the road
Right.
one way or the other. We
Dude.
know we have a growing jail population. We have got to find a way to house prisoners one way or
Right,
the other.
and I'm sure the way that prisoners would be incarcerated now has changed from when our jail was originally built way back in the 60s, early
Absolutely.
60s probably. So,
Yeah.
all right, well, let's move on to other topics. I noted in the news that the county board has decided to hold a night meeting in the Rapids, presumably,
Yep.
because they, what?
Well, that was Supervisor Clendenning brought that idea forward out of his committee, J&L. I think it's just a kind of a feeler. There's always been discussion that we don't get enough public participation in our county board meetings because they're at 9:30 on the third Tuesday of every month, and people are working.
Right.
And we don't give people that have jobs the opportunity to come and voice their opinions at county boards. And so it's just an attempt by the county board to offer that opportunity and see what happens. If we get an influx of citizens that want to partake in the meeting, that's great, and maybe we take another look and say, hey, maybe we do need to shift back nights. Maybe it gives an opportunity for more people to run for office. I could run for a county board supervisor seat if I didn't have to go to a meeting at 9:30 in the morning on Tuesdays.
Well, the issue is night meetings. All of the committee meetings that I'm aware of, other than Norwood, were being held in the daytime. So the typical supervisors on 2 or 3 meetings, or committees, excuse me, that meet daytime. So it would it would be hard for somebody who isn't retired or semi-retired to be a supervisor.
And I agree. You're absolutely right. Most of the committee meetings are held during the day. I think judicial and legislative usually meets at 1 o'clock in the afternoon. Seed, I think, is at 9 o'clock in the morning a lot of times.
Right.
Highways at 8 o'clock in the morning. Executives at 8 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah, I don't, there's probably no good solution. The only way that I've seen in government, whether it's a city or the county government, if there's a burning issue, that will draw a crowd more than just the time of day that it's being held.
And that's absolutely right. They're going to get there.
Because you've been on long enough to know that if there's a hot button issue like the emergency vehicle rescue
squad
group in Southwood County, where 3 or 4 townships get.
The water issue has drawn some big,
Sure, and that draws
groups.
crowds.
And then you're absolutely right. If there's an issue that concerns a good deal of constituency, you're going to have turnouts.
Yeah.
You're going to have a lot. I mean, I can remember I think you brought it up, I think on the rescue squad, I think that we had an hour of public comment that day, that board meeting. An hour. That's a long time for public comment. But, those people have a right to talk, and I'm certainly not going to shut down any kind of discussion on any topic that's of concern.
Well, at one time, way back, the county board met in Marshfield, I think at probably was the Wood County campus, to bring the county government up to the northern part of the county as an experiment. I don't know how well it went, but now that we have streaming videos and live stream and so forth, if the 2 public access stations could coordinate and stream live the meetings, there may be some people, I know they watch the city council meetings here on public access religiously, because when I go out for coffee in the morning, people are talking about what they saw, especially if there's an issue of some type.
And that's good, because like you mentioned before, our newspapers don't cover politics or government like they used to.
Unless there's a big issue like Saratoga, or as you mentioned, emergency services. So
exactly.
Hopefully, I'd be. I mean, I have no problem personally as a citizen to see, try different things. But my view is that even our city council meetings don't draw a crowd unless there's a issue.
Absolutely.
And that will bring out everybody, and that's fine.
And that will always be the case,
Yeah,
probably.
right. Let's talk about things that are coming up that make you nervous.
The budget?
Okay.
No, we've started the process for the 2020 budget, actually. Just recently, we're starting to look at capital projects by department, with the department heads making their requests for CIP money to their individual committees. Then we will meet, I will probably meet one-on-one with those department heads along with their committee chairs and the finance director to kind of take probably a closer look, a more in-depth look at those capital requests. We did that last year, and I think we did it to good effect last year because we had done some heavy borrowing when it came to capital projects. And you know, there's things you want and there's things that you need. And you have to be able to determine which, you have to be able to determine which is which.
You have to have amenities that keep people
Yep.
here,
Yep.
but you got to pay the bills.
Absolutely. And so that's a process. And then the general budget, we get into it, and that's always, tedious work.
Yeah. Well, I know that, and we will discuss the biggest issue in a future meeting, which is the amount of county tax dollars subsidizing operations both at Edgewater and at Norwood. And is there any way out of that? We'll talk about those.
Yeah, Edgewater's a great topic. Edgewater's turned a corner. We've done some wonderful things at
That's
Edgewater.
surprising because I followed that very, very closely when they had the consultants in from Whitby Ulrich 2011,
Sure.
and they recommended shutting it down.
Oh yeah, no, we're way past that. I think that I think the day is coming, and we may see it this year that Edgewater actually generates some revenue.
Well,
And that would be a very big surprise for a lot of people.
At one time, when I had the opportunity, I was advocating for closing it and selling it because there's only 23 counties that actually operate.
We're
nursing
handicapped.
homes.
We're handicapped as. In fact, I'm glad you brought it up because that's one of the items in the governor's proposed budget where he increased additional funds for nursing homes. County-run facilities are not getting paid what they should be. I mean, I could discuss that all day, one topic all day.
Sometimes we could.
Yeah.
Over soda.
We're going to, in fact, I'd like to give a plug here because part of the process of getting Edgewater turned around, along with Director Ruink and Jordan Bruce, who is involved, we have a very good administrator there that we are losing. Cindy Robinson, she's leaving us on the 1st of April, and she was a big part of getting Edgewater on the right track, and we're going to miss her greatly, and hopefully we can find someone to fill her shoes.
Well, given the fact that nursing homes in general, privately owned, are having significant problems and closing. The one in Arpin, Bethel, which has been there since I can't remember when it wasn't there.
Yeah.
And that's closing because
That's a surprise.
the reimbursement from Medicaid is so bad that if they don't have enough private patients to subsidize the public patients, they're in trouble.
Yep.
So maybe the county facility is a good thing after all because they would have to take all comers, and they aren't going to go bankrupt, but
That's okay.
They're going to bleed cash, but
That's okay as long as we get funding to support that. That's the key.
But if we set down the public facilities, where would people go?
I don't even want to go there. That is,
Yeah.
you're absolutely right.
There is a society change that people are spending. There are fewer people going into nursing homes because of other programming,
ADRC.
adult daycares,
Yep,
and so
absolutely.
forth. I'm somewhat of an expert on that, having been
That's kind of
on-
what we do at ADRC is it's kind of our mission is to keep people in their homes as
Right.
long as possible.
Yeah, with home care,
Yep.
with parents taking care of grandparents back like we did in the old days when my parents took care of my grandma.
Yep, there are options. But yeah, the demographics, you're absolutely right, Don. The demographics are changing. And I mean, we're not going to get less of that population
No.
going to nursing homes. It's only going to increase. So, and you know what, you want to throw another brick or another log on that fire is, look at Alzheimer's. People are living long. Alzheimer's is a societal change.
Right.
That, what do you do with people that have Alzheimer's? You don't throw them out, you can't throw them out on the street.
Yeah, right.
We have to have programs developed specifically for, we didn't talk about that 30 years ago. It wasn't a problem.
Okay. Those are issues that I certainly would like to probe with, is it the Human Services Director?
Well, he'll be a good show for
Brandon, is that?
Brandon Brewing,
yeah.
our director.
That would be good, and so stay tuned, folks. We're going to bring up a guest in the near future, and we're going to talk about those types of programs because we need to be aware of what's available and how we're going to handle the growing population of elderly people because we are living longer, those of us, hopefully. Just a couple of real easy questions. I've been peppering you with some really hard questions. What in the world are we doing having a referendum on marijuana in Wood County in the April 2nd election? Why?
You'll have to,
that should be an easy question.
That came out of
Say, I don't know.
That came out of judicial and legislative as well. In fact, I was absent at that meeting. I actually was absent at that meeting. Not that I'm trying to get out of it, because I can tell you how I would have voted on it. But the fact is, I was very sick that time, and I actually was sick for 4 days, and I missed that meeting. Donna Roser chaired that meeting.
Yes, and I've talked to Donna about that, and we are going to do a program if it comes to be that there's a state referendum, because what Wood County residents think doesn't mean a hill of beans.
No.
It's not something, well, we can have pot in for either medical or recreational use or whatever in Wood County, but not, it's not going to happen.
No.
I don't know what purpose it serves. It just didn't make any sense to me.
That came out of the Judicial and Legislative Committee.
It didn't go through the Health Department committees.
It probably wasn't vetted the way it should have been. That's for sure. Before it got to the floor.
Well, I mean, it's just there are things, there are items that are probably suitable for referendum. The big issues like $75 million jail. I mean, that should be a referendum.
Yeah, I'm assuming it would be.
Maybe. There's a time and a place, but this one's kind of silly, in my view. Anything else that you'd like to bring up?
Well, we talked about the economic development. The solar initiative that we're working on from the county. We're working with an entity out of Washington, D.C., funded by the Department of Energy on SoulSmart. And it's kind of an initiative. In fact, I've talked to your brother quite a bit about it. But it's an initiative that makes acquiring, it cuts a lot of red tape for residents and constituents that want to incorporate solar. And then it also looks at options for the county. You being a former, being a legislator yourself, you know that there are very, very few ways to develop revenue streams for government. And there are very few ways to substantially reduce your expenses. Right now in the field of solar and renewables, there are some great opportunities because the prices come down so much. The cost of initiating solar and the revenue that you can generate or expenses
who would
that
get revenue if I put a solar panel in my backyard? Who would get that revenue?
You would cut your energy costs substantially, and the ROI is very definable now. As far as it has lost its emphasis as a political thing. It's fiscal now. It's a fiscal bottom line item.
I'll have to talk to my brother, who's the town chairman.
He's got a great idea for the airport.
It's better be good because
it is.
When I had 3 feet of snow in my backyard, I would have covered up my solar panel. I was more concerned about my roof.
It comes off really quick. They actually protect your roof.
Well, that's all right. I'm done peppering you with questions. I want to mention, however, that we have some representation in the county board, and I want to mention their names. So if you have an issue that you are concerned about or you want to advocate, like I've been sort of doing, as our discussion continued, if you got ideas or suggestions or complaints, I'm going to give you the names of those people. And they are Dave LaFontaine, Donna Roser, Mike Fire, Jason Zaleski, and Adam Fisher. They all represent a portion of our city of Marshfield. They overlap. They're not the same as the city aldermanic distance, you know. And Dave, I think, probably goes into the town of Lincoln a little bit.
He does.
And so they're not identical to the city representation, but these are county supervisors who you can send them an email if you go on the county website, as I did, and I was opposed to that referendum on marijuana, the referendum.
Sure.
And I sent a note to my supervisor. And you could do the same. You can send them emails. So if you have an issue with...
all their contact information is on the website, you bet.
Yeah. The county website has improved over the years. It
it's very
wasn't
good,
much there. And they, even on the election night, you'll be able to follow the county vote on the referendum, and also there's no other county issue.
On the April, you're talking the April
Yeah,
election?
April 2nd.
No.
This program will probably air after that. So, but you can follow the elections on the county clerk's
absolutely.
website. So
You
I
bet.
think the county is doing as well as can be expected given the environment, and we hope that you know, we can bring more people in, more jobs. They got a nice new plant opening up. Between Wisconsin Rapids and Grand Rapids, a recycling company, which is an amazing development.
Metalco? Yeah, that's big. It's a big one. It took a long time. It goes back to economic development. Doesn't happen overnight.
No,
There's
and,
5 years
you
work
know,
put
I
into that.
mean, the county needs that, and the Southwood County needs that.
Absolutely.
Certainly, with the decline in employment at the mills, good-paying jobs.
Yep,
And
absolutely.
there's a lot of retail and that type of economy down there, but not a lot of manufacturing anymore.
Nope.
Got warehouses. Thank you for coming up, Doug. We really do appreciate it, and you know, we hope to keep our viewers informed on what is going on in Wood County, because that's what we support, and we want it to grow and prosper at both ends of the county.
Yep, my
Southwood
pleasure.
County,
My pleasure,
Northwood
Don.
County. So thank you so much for coming up, and I look forward to seeing some of the department heads up here. If they don't want to come, you make them come.
I will.
All
My
right.
pleasure to be here.
I'm sure they will.
Thank you.
Thank you so
Yep.
much. All right.
Bye.
I'm Don Nystrom. Thank you for watching. This is Marshfield Community Television. We're your connection. Thank you for watching.